You are the only animal on Earth that cannot survive on raw food. Not the only one that prefers it cooked. The only one that would slowly starve to death surrounded by food. Because somewhere back down your family tree, an ape made a fire. And we never let it go out. That little fire is the reason you're clever enough to be watching this. Now you'd think cooking is just something clever we picked up along the way. A bit of comfort, better flavor, on top of the raw diet nature gave us. It isn't. Cooking is the thing that built the body you're sitting in right now. By the end of this, you'll know why you have to cook, and why nobody ever actually chose to. And honestly, the real reason is a little bit unsettling. So why did we start cooking? Ask anyone, and you'll get 3 answers. 1. For the taste. Cooked food is just nicer. 2. To kill the germs so the meat doesn't make you sick. 3. A lucky accident. Some ancestor dropped his dinner in the fire and liked what came out. And here's the thing. All 3 are true. Every single one of them. And all 3 are wrong about what cooking actually is. Taste, germs, a lucky spark. They're all reasons a person might choose to cook. They treat cooking like a hobby. A clever trick we added on top of being human. But cooking isn't a trick we added. It's the thing that made us human in the first place. We didn't get smart and then start cooking. It's the other way round. And that's a genuinely bizarre thing to accept. So let me just prove it to you, because we have living proof walking around today. Modern humans who tried to quit cooking, with absolutely everything on their side. Blenders, supermarkets, fresh fruit flown in from the other side of the world in the dead of winter. Every advantage a human has ever had. And they still fell apart. And that's not a guess. Somebody actually measured it. The results are the best clue we have to why your body needs a flame. So what happens when you take cooking away? In the 1990s, researchers in Germany found hundreds of people living on raw food, on purpose. Over 500 of them, men and women, eating raw for years at a time. Not starving themselves, eating all they wanted, just nothing cooked. And their bodies started quietly shutting things down. The average person lost a serious amount of weight, 10, 12 kilos, just gone. And here's the part that actually stops you. Roughly 30% of the women under 45 had their periods turn irregular or stop entirely. Their bodies looked at that raw diet and decided there wasn't enough energy spare to have a baby. Think about how drastic that is. These people had blenders, supermarkets, fruit in January, every trick we have ever invented, and their bodies still couldn't pull enough fuel out of raw food to run normally. Now picture a naked ape out on the open savanna. No blender, no supermarket, no winter strawberries. If a modern human with every advantage can't thrive on raw, that ape had no chance at all. Raw food, it turns out, is a trap. It looks like plenty, and it slowly starves you. So how did we ever escape it? How can we live on food that would waste away a chimp? We do one thing that nothing else on earth does. Before we ever take a single bite, we cook it. And it turns out that changes the food far more than anyone realized. Here's what cooking actually does. And honestly, it's stranger than just makes it soft. Digestion is just breaking food down into fuel that your gut can absorb. Normally, your body does all of that work. Inside you. With acid and enzymes and a lot of effort. Cooking does a big chunk of that work for you. Outside your body. Before you even swallow. Heat unravels the tough proteins in meat. It bursts open the hard starch inside a potato. It's doing your chewing and half of your digesting before the food ever reaches your mouth. A researcher named Rachel Carmody put real numbers on it. Take something starchy, like a sweet potato, cook it, and you get around 30% more usable energy out of it than raw. 30% for doing nothing but holding it over a fire. And cooked meat and eggs give up even more. A raw egg, your body can barely use. Cook it, and you can absorb up to nearly 4/5 of the protein. So think about what cooking really is. It's a second stomach, one you keep outside your body, made of fire. You've had one your whole life. You just call it a kitchen. And all that extra energy, freed up by fire, it had to go somewhere. In our ancestors, it went to the single most expensive organ a body can grow, your brain. And the bill it runs is almost impossible to believe. Your brain is a tiny thing, about 2% of your body weight. A soft, wrinkled lump, a bit bigger than your two fists. 2% of you. And here's the bill it sends. That 2% burns about a fifth of all the energy your body uses at rest. A fifth. Sit still. Do nothing at all. And that little 2% is quietly eating a fifth of your fuel. Nothing else your size runs a brain that greedy. A chimp spends maybe half as much. So how do you pay a bill like that? Where does a fifth of your energy even come from? You cannot pay it on raw leaves and raw meat. The math just doesn't work. A big brain is a luxury. And luxuries have to be funded. And honestly, if a 2% lump burning a fifth of your energy is the reason you're clever enough to find that unsettling, hit the like button. It costs you nothing, and it decides whether this thing finds the next curious person. Right. Back to the fire. Because to grow a brain that expensive in the leading telling, something else had to give. And something did. Around 1.8 million years ago, a new kind of human shows up. We call it Homo erectus. And it does not look like the ape before it. This is a real one. The actual skull of a boy who lived about 1.5 million years ago. Its brain is bigger, not a little bigger, roughly a third bigger. By some measures, as much as 40%. A third more brain in a single evolutionary step. That is a colossal jump. And at the very same time, the rest of it shrinks. Smaller teeth, a smaller jaw, a shorter, smaller gut. This is the body of an animal that has stopped eating raw. You don't need huge grinding teeth and a giant fermenting gut if your food turns up half cooked. And a big gut is expensive too. It burns a lot of energy, just sitting there, digesting. So here's the argument, and it belongs to one man in particular, a Harvard biologist named Richard Wrangham. In Wrangham's telling, cooking funded the brain by shrinking the gut. The energy you save on digestion, you get to spend on thinking. Fire pays for the brain. Now, I have to be straight with you here. Not everyone buys that trade-off. One big study looked across 100 different mammals and found no clean swap between gut and brain at all. So it isn't a settled mechanism. It's Wrangham's best explanation for a very suspicious coincidence, because the timing fits almost too well. The moment our ancestors turned into brainy, small-gutted, small-jawed creatures is exactly the moment cooking would explain. But that word, would, that's where this whole story hits a catch, a big one. Here's the problem. We don't actually know when we tamed fire, and Wrangham's whole story depends on that date. His argument needs cooking to be happening nearly 2 million years ago to explain Homo erectus. But the hard, undeniable evidence for controlled fire only reaches back about 400,000 years. 400,000, not 2 million. That is a gap of well over 1 million years. And everything inside that gap is thin and fiercely argued over. There are older hints. Scorched bone in a South African cave called Wonderwork, maybe 1 million years old. But it's suggestive, not proof of a hearth they kept going. A one-off fire isn't a kitchen. So let me be honest about what this is. This is the best evidence story of how fire built our brain. It is not a settled date. And it is not the only explanation on the table. Wrangham's is the leading argument, not the last word. Some researchers think our brains grew for reasons that have nothing to do with fire. But there's one more thing I've been saving. And it's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. You'd assume cooking took a big human brain to invent, that you have to be smart first. But scientists tested chimps, and chimps already have almost everything cooking needs. Give a chimp a raw slice and a box that seems to cook it, and the chimp will wait. It'll choose the cooked one. It'll carry food across a room to cook it. It'll plan for it. It has the patience and a real sense of cause and effect. A chimp has nearly all the mental machinery to cook. It's missing exactly one thing, the fire. It can't make one and it can't keep one. The whole gap between us and them, all of human history, might come down to just that. One of us picked up the fire and never once put it down. So, why did ancient humans start cooking? Here's the honest answer. Nobody decided. There was no clever caveman who worked it all out and taught the rest. The ones who cooked simply got more out of their food. So they had more energy and more children. And their children had those slightly smaller guts and those slightly bigger brains. Generation after generation, the cookers outate, outbred and outthought everyone else until there was no going back, until cooking wasn't a choice anymore. It was written into our bodies. We didn't get smart and decide to cook. We cooked. And that is what made us smart. We didn't tame fire. Fire tamed us. Remember, right at the very start, I told you we never let that fire go out. We couldn't. Every meal you have ever eaten, you ate half digested by a flame. Because roughly 2 million years ago, an ape lit one. And we have never, ever let it go out. If you'd never once wondered why you have to cook, and now you can't quite stop thinking about it, that is exactly what this channel is for. Subscribe, and I'll ruin another everyday thing for you next week. Filed under things nobody chose that became who we are. That's the archive for today.